According to Keffe D, a self-confessed former shot caller for the Southside Compton Crips, currently awaiting trial for the murder of Tupac Shakur, there were 4 men in the white Cadillac that pulled up next to Tupac when the fatal shots were fired that night in Las Vegas in 1996. Keffe claims he was in the front passenger seat. His friend Terrence Brown was driving. Keffe's nephew, Orlando Anderson, who he claims pulled the trigger, was seated behind Keffe. And lastly, there was a guy next to Orlando Anderson in the back seat, an individual that Keffe claims refused to fire the shots.
I gave it to Dre, and Dre was like, no.
In this episode, you're gonna hear a police interview with that person that has never been heard before.
Why would you think we'd ask you about that? Because you're gonna ask everybody else about it. The problem is, Deandrae, what? Not everybody else was in Las Vegas that night that Tupac Shakur was killed, and you were.
This is the story of Deandrae Smith, aka Big Dre, aka Big Freaky. Smith was a big man. His height has been reported as anywhere between 6'3" and 6'7", and he was north of 300 pounds. But in his younger years, he was a high school basketball star who eventually turned to the street life as an adult. One of his early arrests was at an outdoor mall in Linwood in 1994 for possession of a stolen firearm when he was just 20 years old. He was arrested after a security guard noticed the small .25 caliber pistol in Smith's back pocket. Smith told police he'd bought the gun for $100 in an alley near a McDonald's in Compton. The gun turned out to have been stolen from the LAPD. When asked if he knew the gun was stolen, Smith replied, "I knew it was stolen. Just look at it. It looks stolen." So Smith admitted to buying a gun he believed to be stolen and was booked. The previous year, in 1993, associates of Southside Crips' Burris crew were featured as some of the extras in a music video by artist Mello. Keffe D, Orlando Anderson, and other alleged Southsiders are mixed in with other extras throughout the video. But Deandrae Smith got the most screen time and is featured prominently in the opening scene, leading me to wonder if he might have been the one who'd connected the Crips with the video's producers. Later in the video, Smith also puts his hand on Keffe's chest to keep him from chasing after a girl. On April 12, 1996, 5 months before Tupac's murder, a 36-year-old Palmer Block Crip named Elbert Webb Jr. was shot to death at a party in Compton. Witnesses claimed the suspects were Orlando Anderson and his friend, Deandrae Smith, both armed with Mac 11 assault pistols. They shot Webb in front of multiple witnesses. One witness would ID Anderson as the shooter from a photo lineup, but Compton gang detective Bobby Ladd has claimed Smith was the one who fired the fatal shot, shooting Webb in the head after Anderson pistol-whipped Webb and the magazine fell out of his gun. During the Compton gang war that broke out after Tupac's murder, Anderson was arrested on suspicion of committing the Elbert Webb Jr. murder, but was released after the district attorney said detectives needed to do more work. Anderson was killed before he could be charged. But Deandrae Smith was eventually charged for Webb's murder, but according to detectives Brennan and Ladd, Smith was acquitted after his attorney convinced the jury that Smith had only been charged with Webb's murder because police had failed to charge him for Tupac's murder. On the night of Tupac's murder, Keffe D claims Deandrae Smith was riding with them in the backseat of a rented white Cadillac as they caught up with Tupac's entourage coming off the Vegas Strip. Keffe said he tried to hand the gun to Deandrae Smith in the moment before the shots were fired, but that Smith refused to pull the trigger.
I gave it to Dre, and Dre was like, no. And Lane's like, give it to Pop.
Keffe claims Orlando Anderson grabbed the gun instead and leaned over Smith to commit the murder.
He leaned over on the window, we rolled down the window, pop.
A Southside Crip informant claimed they saw Orlando Anderson and Deandrae Smith in a blue or white Cadillac on Burris Avenue in the heart of their Compton neighborhood the day after Tupac was shot, and that Smith took credit for the shooting.
Dre and Orlando, they came back bragging about what happened out there. He seen Tupac and Big Suge, I think, in a BMW, and he said he let off on him.
Dre said he himself let off on him. What does let off on him mean to you?
Shooting a person. Like it was a big old joke or something. Like it was a big joke. You can tell when a person nervous. He was nervous when they got back talking, you know, you can tell they had nervousness in them.
And lately, there's been a claim from a Tupac murder witness who described the shooter's arm as being big, and that this would indicate that Smith pulled the trigger and not Anderson. However, looking back at the original witness statements to detectives in Las Vegas after the murder, none of the witnesses described the size of the shooter's arm. At the time, they only described the arm as dark. And Keffe seemed adamant that Smith wasn't the shooter and expressed disgust at Smith's refusal to pull the trigger that night.
I know he would be scary, but when I got out of jail, they said he was a bad motherfucker.
Dre?
Yeah, like, is that right?
Could
He
be.
used to feign all that shit. All that shit. Oh, what we gonna do?
Could be Dupac.
Once we got out of the car, he was acting like a bitch. Then I was like, shit, get a hold of yourself, bitch.
Right.
Fuck it, yes.
What was he saying?
Oh, what we gonna do? Man, shut the fuck up, bitch. Roll with this, you know?
On November 24th, 1997, Deandrae Smith was interviewed by LAPD detectives investigating the murder of Biggie Smalls, which had happened 8 months earlier.
What do you think we want to talk to you about? We have no idea. A number of things.
The audio quality here is poor, but we also have the detective's notes from the interview. Smith admits to attending the vibe party the night Biggie was killed, but he's extremely uncooperative and claims he isn't a gang member and pretends he doesn't even know close friends of his like Orlando Anderson.
All the rest of them, I don't know either.
Well, you know him, he just drove up. You're going to tell me, you know, this guy's name is plastered all over the newspapers and everything. And you're going to tell me you don't know his name.
No, I don't know these people. All I know is me.
The detectives lecture him about his life choices and how he can lie to protect his friends, but they aren't going to show him the same loyalty.
You have the right idea. You know what I'm saying? Deandrae, listen. You're a young man. You probably could have really done something good with your life, and you still can. You were a star basketball player, probably smarter than the average Joe on the street. And when you say, the only person I know in that picture is me, that's right. And you know why? Because you need to watch out for yourself. Because I'll tell you, there are some people in this picture right here that will screw you in a flash. Because you don't know who we've talked to and where we've been.
Naturally, the conversation with the LA detectives turned towards Tupac's murder, and Dre admitted he was in Las Vegas the night of the shooting.
I want to know who was with you in Las Vegas the night Tupac's score was killed. With me. Well, myself. You know that's not going to fly on me. Just in my room by myself. Yeah, I was by myself. I wasn't nobody.
Dre will only admit that he heard Terrence Brown and Orlando Anderson were at the MGM that night and that Orlando had been beat up. And when the detective asked Brown how he could know that Orlando Anderson and Terrence Brown were in Vegas the night Tupac was killed if he didn't see them, you can tell Dre realizes he's been caught in a lie.
Well, you wasn't with Lando who got his ass kicked. Where was you, at the tables or what? I was with the girls and they turned her on. You didn't hook up with them not one time that whole weekend. Well, how you knew they were there then? Yeah. You got jumped on, it's on the news. I went with them. All through all that stuff, I went with everybody. I went to do it.
Then the detectives dropped Brown's name as sort of a threat, referencing the interview they had done with Brown at Wasco State Prison that I played in my previous episode about him.
Terry Brown said to say hello to you from Wasco State Prison. What does that mean? Okay? What does that mean? Who is Terry Brown? You know, it don't matter whether you know him or not. He knows you. The South was in Las Vegas, and Orlando Anderson got his ass kicked, and you and your homeboys went after him. Well, I'm saying that you're one of the people that's going to take a fall. That's right. That's going to go to jail for the murder of Tupac Shakur.
The detective tells Dre he's going down for Tupac's murder, and that Orlando Anderson is having fun with the media now, but will flip on Dre if Anderson is arrested.
This guy here, Orlando Anderson, he thinks it's fun and games. Bullshit with the people in the press and these book writers.
I just want to let everybody know, you know what I'm saying,
You know what I'm saying? I didn't do it.
Put in a public appearance on Thursday morning, turning up on CNN to offer a soundbite to the effect that he didn't murder anybody. Anderson denies that he's a member of the Crips gang. Police in his hometown of Compton disagree.
And you don't want to let this thing die. That's stupid. You don't want to let it die. He's got to be suing people. He's got to keep all this stuff in the papers. Well, what do you think's going to happen if somebody puts a pair of handcuffs on him and arrests him for the murder of Tupac? No, all bullshit aside. What do you think's going to happen? Do you think he's going to take a fall? He's got these highfalutin, high-priced attorneys. Do you think that they're going to let their client take a fall? Hell no. You know who's going to take a fall? You're going to take a fall. They'll roll over and flash Big Dre and pull the trigger. No, I'm not going to tell him. I'm just out of bullshit. I've just been a stripper long time. Dre, I'm just telling you what happened. We've been through this so many times. That's what happened. I know. All right?
I knew you was going to ask me that anyway before the big small.
Why would you think we'd ask you about that?
You know what I'm saying?
Why would you think we'd ask you about that?
I said you could ask everybody else about it.
The problem is, Deandrae,
What?
not everybody else was in Las Vegas that night that Tupac Shakur was killed. Okay? And you were. And Terry Brown was. And Orlando Anderson was. When shit hits the fan, T. Brown's going to roll right on home. And I don't give a shit whether you say you know him or not. He's your running buddy, and he was there in Las Vegas with you guys. Okay? He places you there, places Orlando there. That's no big deal, because Orlando got...
Yeah, I was there.
That was Orlando Anderson. Yeah, he didn't place you in no goddamn hotel room. We've been told by more than one person that you were the one that pulled the trigger, and I know you got the balls to do that. You ever been to prison? No, you haven't. You're going to catch a hot one right out of the bucket, and you will die in prison.
Like Orlando Anderson, Deandrae Smith eventually made a run at the music business, launching his own Compton-based label called Runoff Records, and releasing a mixtape in 2003 called Hard White. The CD featured prominent rappers like Snoop Dogg, Warren G, and MC8, and the final track was by a rapper and alleged Southside Crip associate named Evil Kurt, and supposedly Smith himself recorded this intro to the CD.
What a mess is that? Run off up in your ass like this, baby. Compton. Yeah, we coming with that motherfucking hard white. Yeah.
Deandrae Smith held a party for his label at a popular nightclub on Wilshire Boulevard called the Conga Room, which was co-owned by Jennifer Lopez. Inside the party, a Southside associate named Jerry Monk Bonds, who had once been erroneously named as one of the suspects in Tupac's murder, got into a fight. By one version of events, Bonds got the better of his opponent, but then the guy pulled a gun and shot Bonds to death. Deandrae Smith reportedly fired at the suspect's vehicle as it fled. The following year, in June of 2003, the Compton offices for Smith's Runoff Records were raided by the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Narcotics Bureau, who seized drugs and arrested 2 men. Smith wasn't present and avoided arrest. 3 months later, just after midnight on September 24th, Yetunde Price, the 31-year-old half-sister of tennis legends Venus and Serena Williams, was murdered in the Southside Crips neighborhood. Riding in a GMC Yukon Denali, Price was struck in the head by a bullet. She was killed just a mile from the tennis courts where her superstar half-sisters learned to play. Within weeks, police made arrests for Price's murder, and Big Dre was dragged into the case because he was associated with at least one of the suspects and was believed to have witnessed the shooting itself. But he was never charged in connection with Price's murder. Like Terrence Brown and Orlando Anderson, Deandrae Smith took whatever he knew about Tupac's murder to the grave. He died on November 7, 2004, from health issues. He was just 30 years old, and he was buried in Long Beach.